Welcome back to Veronica Live, and I'm here now with Statesman John. Oh my gosh, we've had such a powerful show already, John, this morning with the state attorney on fire, and then we just had Virginia congressional candidate Cameron Hamilton, a Navy SEAL, sign me up. I'm like, okay, I want to be on his team when he takes over. You know, so that's the thing. These are sharp people fighting for America and what's right, and you know, if you elect these people. Well, Larry Bassford's in our district, but, you know, Virginia is a wonderful state, and we've got to have strong people in there fighting. And I think you and I supported everything he said today for the congressional candidate. I was like, wow.
Well, he's running for the right reasons, and he's got principles that he's willing to stand on. And that's, you know, it's the same thing with Hung Cao, you know, who's running for the Virginia Senate. I mean, these are quality candidates. These are quality people that you want to vote for, that you want to be associated with. And they're the kind of people we need to save this country. That's who we need to get elected, because they get it. They get the problem.
Yeah, no, it's
and they're willing to stand up. You know,
he was superb, and he has great ideas, and he wants to clean house, and he you know, he wasn't so on board getting rid of Speaker Johnson yet. You know, he wants a plan. So. Right. And in the military, we're used to having plans, because when you go to war, you have a plan. It doesn't always go perfect, but you are, you know the enemy, you know the territory, you know the time you're launching, you know what missiles you're using or airplanes you're going to fight in. You know, you have a plan when you show up. And
then you expect the plan to change, because things don't always go according to the plan, and you have to be willing to adapt and change tactics. And that's you know, to me, that's the warrior ethos. You know, I think that's what we're seeing a lot of, and maybe that's what it takes to get civilians, you know, to save not only the government but to save our military from itself, because it's become so woke and foolish. You know, spending all their time and money on foolishness rather than preparing, you know, to defend this country, which is what their job is. But,
so I thought he was brilliant, and, you know, I was very impressed with Larry Bassford. He's been a regular state attorney before, and, you know, and he did agree to do a fireside chat with his candidate that's running against him, Eric Garman. So when the show's over today, I'll reach out to Eric, and we'll get that scheduled, because that'll be powerful, you know, and we're good at that.
Well, it's always good to give people the choice, you know, inform the voters and let the voters make the choice. That's what our country's about, you know.
Well, there's been a lot of issues this week, and so so before we get into all the issues, you know, I'm like an ex-goddess now with my check mark. And so Peyton McNabb, if you forgot who she was the volleyball, playing college volleyball, and got hit by a trans athlete like almost 10 months ago, and like literally has had so many physical problems, and she went back to the doctor this week and it still wasn't good. So, you know, I posted praying for Peyton. Thanks for standing up to these trans athletes who just want to be on the women's podium and don't belong there. They're cheating. And, you know, 4,500 people saw my tweet, you know, and a lot liked it, because, you know, this is ridiculous. So at least that Leah Thomas now can't compete in the Paris Olympics. So that was some news. But why do we have these trans athletes now taking over? Men, they're all men who have men bodies, right, John.
Right. You don't see any women in men's sports. I mean, I know they've got a couple of them, but the problem is when the women go to the men, you know, I guess they're trans women, or are they trans men? I have no idea.
No, they're men that become women, and it's you know,
what's the
like
other way
Leah's
around?
like 6'3". Well, a woman becoming a man, but they're not going to be able to compete as a man. There's no hell no. We don't ever read it on that side.
Right, you don't hear that part, do you? You know, you don't.
So they're cheaters. They're cheaters. So the other issue, and we talked about it with our state attorney, is the squatters. There's been a lot of squatter stories, and it went viral this week. He's like a Venezuelan illegal that apparently has a following, and he talks about how in Spanish how you come to America, you find a house and you squat it. Well, in New York, a woman was on vacation, came back to New York City, went to visit her mother's apartment that was, she just was checking on it. Her mother, I guess, has passed, and 2 squatters killed her, put her in a duffel bag, John. So I put, squatters have no rights and need to be kicked out. In order to do this, you've got to have a strong sheriff where you live that also has a strong law enforcement team, standing behind him. And Freedom, Florida is blessed to have plenty of sheriffs that have your back. Yep. So isn't that the truth? I mean,
right. And there was another one that made big news in California, $1 million home.
Oh, I saw that.
Across the street from where LeBron James is building a house, okay? Across the street, these squatters from illegal alien squatters have come in and taken over this $1 million home. And the police come and say, it's a civil matter. We can't do anything about it. And, oh, by the way, it's going to take at least a year to get them out. And it's like, this is crazy.
Well, it's beyond crazy. Oh, and this was another one. I follow Libs of TikTok on X, and they posted a story. It's a female lawyer is sued after expressing that the belief that only women can menstruate, which I don't even like to say that word, dear Lord. And so I wrote, every day the left delivers more lies, because again, it falls in that trans, shiza that we're dealing with. Yep. Give me a break. Okay, so I had one that went crazy. I had two more that went crazy that I got to talk about, but go ahead.
Well, we're perverting the language is the problem, and we're accepting the perverted language of the left when it comes to this trans crap. They're not women. Dylan Mulvaney is not a woman. Period.
Oh my gosh.
He pretends to be a woman. He tries to act like a woman, but he's not. He's a man. And I don't care what you call him. Man, period.
And do what he wants to do, but stop putting it in my face.
I don't care. Right.
And
I
then
don't care.
I don't need a trans woman to compete against real women that have worked their arses off in their fields. Okay, this is my favorite one too. This one went cray cray. So James Carville was on with Anderson Cooper and said Joe Biden's surrogates should do the wet work against Trump. So last week the word was lawfare. Yep. This week it's wet work. And so I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And it was, I guess, like when the CIA would go and kill people.
Yeah, they kill people. Assassinations.
So basically, like 102,000 people saw this clip with Anderson. And so I wrote, this lapdog needs a timeout in his doggy crate. Bad boy, Carville. And so my little ex went crazy on that one. Plus, in the clip with Anderson, it's so funny. He's wearing this scarf around his neck, and it looks like somebody's like, is he a Boy Scout? I mean, he looks like a Boy Scout gone bad. Plus, I don't like to go after people's looks because on Twitter, people always go after my red hair, and it's quite annoying. But he does look like an old woman. I don't know what's going on with his Jewish grandmother glasses that, like, Kramer, if you ever watched like Seinfeld, I'm like, what is going on? That one went crazy. Oh my gosh. And then I had one more because Mr. Wonderful has been, what's his real name, Mr. Wonderful? I always forget. I'll just think of him as Mr. Wonderful. He's the financier that's Canadian from Shark Tank. And
Kevin O'Leary.
Yes.
Kevin O'Leary.
So he has gone crazy. He's on every single talk show fighting for Trump, but now he's fighting more for America and New York. So I'm trying to find my tweet. That was my biggest tweet of the week.
Well, his point is, forget Trump. Here you have the government seizing private property for no crime. They're seizing a lot of money, and they're rigging the laws to make it so that you can't fight back. What happened to our constitutional rights?
Well, okay, so actually my biggest tweet was the one about the girl, the volleyball player, but this one got tons of traction. I wrote, Mr. Wonderful's fighting so hard for America. I agree with everything he says. I hope that American people get their sanity back and save our country. And that's how I feel, John. We've got to get our sanity back to save America. And November really, 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 really matters. And then, that's the funny thing, that clip of what went down at the border when the 600 people overran the guards, and the guards were wonderful, the Air National Guard of Texas, because they didn't engage them, but several apparently got hurt. But they were very, very professional. Because you remember when they had the border guards on the horses and the whipping, and then Biden went after them. And then the true story wasn't what the narrative that the White House was pushing,
There was
John.
no whipping. It was people riding horses, and they were imagining the worst. But, the thing that got me about the thing in Texas, and one of the stories in the stack this week is Texas and the border and the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decided not to hear the administration's appeal. That what basically Texas has done is saying, if you're not, to the federal government, if you're not going to defend the border, we're going to defend our border. And they've deployed the Texas National Guard to this park, and I think it's 2 or 3 miles long. And they've told the federal government to go pack sand, that they're not letting the federal government in there, and that the Texas is going to stop any immigrants that come across the border at that point, and they are going to send them back to Mexico. And so there's this. So the Biden administration has been tiptoeing around this very delicately, because it's literally, Governor Abbott is telling them to flip it off the federal government, saying, pack sand, this is Texas.
Well, but the liberal press,
and the Supreme Court
they don't even want to show the clip of that, the border being overrun.
The Supreme Court says Texas can do it, and they sent it back down to the lower courts for another hearing on it. And of course, the lower courts have sent another injunction against the state of Texas, which is really stupid. It's like, do you not read what the Supreme Court just said to you? So Texas has the right to protect its state. Yes, it's a federal border, but it's still the state of Texas. And the sad part, Veronica, is every one of those people that busted through, that knocked over those national, knocked them down, okay? Knocked them down, trampled on them. Every one of those people was let into this country. The border patrol processed them.
I am over it. And then Mexico said, we're not taking them when you bring them back. Yeah. And then DeSantis came out this week and said, well, you end up here in Florida, we're sending your ass up to Martha's Vineyard. And I mean, I feel for poor people. I'm fine to have worker permits, but we've got terrorists now. Americans are being killed. And then last week it was the Tyson story. The Tyson's chicken company fired a bunch of Americans and is hiring illegals because they have to pay them $16, instead of what I guess the going rate was way more. It's out of control. And America is becoming a third world country. And why? Why are we becoming a third world country?
Because that's what the Democrats want. The Democrats hate this country. You go back to the, first principles, okay? That's the root cause analysis of stuff, okay? Remember, Kamala Harris, she's the root cause person, okay? She's going to go get the root cause of immigration. She's going to Guatemala to find the root cause. Okay, the root cause is this. The Democrats hate this country, and they want to transform it. They hate the Constitution.
Well, this is funny.
Destroy it.
Because when I'm always doing final show prep, because we capture the show on Saturdays, I always have Communist News Network on early in the morning. And because I'm always so excited I can't sleep. It's like Christmas morning with you, John, when we have these amazing guests. But this morning, the president of the NAACP was on with the black anchor that does the early morning stuff. And because Florida now, like University of Florida and numerous colleges in Texas, it's happened too, the colleges have done away with the silly DEI offices. Yep. And they were wasting $5 million, for example, in Florida, $5 million was going to these DEI offices, and now it's going to go to scholarships and other things. So this, which I don't even know what his name is, the president of the NAACP, said that any college athlete that's going to go play football or basketball should not come to a school that doesn't have a DEI office, because they're not going to tell their story. They don't understand what the black plight is, and you're just putting money in the coffers of the school. Well, guess what? I don't need a DEI office, because I'm all about equality and taking care of people, not based on the color of your skin, but based on you being a human. So, yeah, you should have heard this guy. And so it was funny because the black anchor, I can't think of his name, so he asked the black anchor, well, where did you go to school? And he went to Howard University, which, oh, by the way, is a black college. So the anchor said, I didn't have these problems. And I will say I was impressed with the anchor, because normally he's quite liberal, but he said, really, you would tell somebody not to have a full ride to a college because you want them to stand up for a DEI issue. And then the president of the NAACP kept going round and round with him that, that's not what I'm saying, but that's what he was saying. And then he tried to say, well, top tier athletes can go anywhere they want. But he was talking about Alabama and UF and I think Mississippi State and, so I'm over DEI, John. You and I, we're in the military, melting pot.
Well, there are a couple of stories this week in the afterburner there about that. The best one was the Don Lemon and Elon Musk interview. It's like, what happens when a genius is interviewed by somebody that's stupid?
A twit. Yeah.
And it was amazing, because that Don Lemon was trying to make this case about DEI, okay, in medical schools where
medical schools, and I'm with him.
Dropping the medical test to get into medical tests so they can get dumber people in, okay? That's basically what they're allowing, so they can get diversity.
Well, this is his quote. So we've got to share his quote. If the standards for passing medical exams and becoming a doctor, or especially something like a surgeon, if the standards are lower, then the probability that the surgeon will make a mistake is higher. They're making mistakes in their exam. They will make mistakes with people, and that may result in people dying. And I think Don Lemon's head exploded. He couldn't handle it.
I know. And the problem was he thought he was so freaking smart, okay? So he's going to outsmart the genius, That was the part that was really dumb on his part, okay? But it's like, and Musk just follow the logic, Is it, if you have lower quality people and they make more mistakes, do you think somebody's not going to eventually die? And it's like, well, that's a hypothetical, And it's
he says that all of these things, the race, sex, or the orientation crap that we deal with, that it's against merit. And that's the bottom line. He says it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, what race you are, what beliefs you have. What matters is how good you are at your job, or what your skills are. And like, when I had cancer, which we'll have to talk about Princess Kate here, I wanted the best cancer doctor. I don't want somebody that was barely passing, because they're putting this concoction in you called chemo, and I need to make sure that we're getting the right one. And actually, there was different ones.
Did you care whether they were a man or a woman, gay or straight? Did any of that
black
matter?
Or white? I just was trying to live my life to be here.
Right. It's like the military. The fighter pilot you want in there. You want the best fighter pilot in there, okay, flying that airplane, because you want somebody that knows what they're doing. You don't want some DEI guy in there, because it's like, hey, we need to have diversity so we can have people that look like us.
Well, the story continues in the afterburner, because they had it was a subcommittee in higher education workforce talking about the real impact of DEI on college. And so it was Dr. Stanley Goldfarb. He's a former associate dean of UPenn, ladies and gentlemen. And he said DEI is dangerous everywhere, but it's most dangerous in medical schools. And he talked about how there was a medical student who recently told his organization, do no harm, that the student had spent more time learning about pronouns than understanding kidney function.
Yep.
And what do I want him to know about kidney function? I don't care about your damn pronoun, doctor.
Right. I don't care what his bedside manner is. I don't care if he's mean and gruff, short. I don't care.
And this guy from UPenn said that
on me, you better know what the hell you're doing.
Right. That they're less qualified students in medical schools, and they're producing less. The physicians are not good that are coming out. And he said the best way to save lives is to get DEI out of medicine now. And yes. And then, of course, like I said, you had the NAACP president on turning the narrative around this morning. And that was funny because the anchor was like, well, a black student going to school is empowerment because his family might have never been able to afford it. And, so going to college and being successful, being an athlete or getting a degree, that moves people forward no matter what color your skin is or what sex you are or if you're gay or straight. So I'm tired of it, John, and I know you are. We talk about it every week.
Right. And the problem that I feel think that gets disregarded in this whole discussion, Veronica, are the people that the minorities, the blacks, the Hispanics, whatever minority you want to identify with, the ones that go to medical school and get through on merit, okay, that are good.
Yeah. And
then people look at them and say, well, you're a DEI hire. They hired you only got in because you were black or you were Hispanic. That's the danger of this DEI program because it demeans their accomplishment. The people that really accomplish something, it demeans them. And to me, that I take far more offense at that because it's like you're saying you're not worth it. The only reason you're there is because whatever minority trait associated with some class of people. That's the only reason you're a doctor today. And to me, that is frighteningly bad.
Well. And so, I'm on every platform, and I sent you this one on LinkedIn. So it's a new narrative. Trump is a national security risk. And so Susan Rice warned Americans against voting for Donald Trump this week because he's a national security risk. And her quote was, Trump clearly doesn't put American interests ahead of its own. So we're deeply vulnerable to exploitation by our adversaries. And so I commented on LinkedIn, I'm getting traction everywhere, John. I don't know. The inspiration of the Lord is raining down on me. I wrote, here we go again. Let's dust off all the old players that hate Trump. And I guess Rice hasn't noticed our out-of-control border with terrorists and millions of unvetted illegals coming through. Let's not forget how we're not supporting our ally Israel, who had innocent civilians killed and continues to fight terrorists. And how about Ukraine, which is a mess dealing with darling Russia? And finally, China, who's ready to pounce on Taiwan at any moment and is responsible for I wrote the fentanyl 100K deaths every year. We need a strong leader on the world stage and a leader who loves Americans and puts us first. The election matters. So do tell, Susan Rice, who's the national security risk?
Well, what's funny about that, Veronica, is that's right out of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, right? It's like, well, we will blame you. We'll transfer onto you what we're doing. So who is the actual criminal when it comes to being bought and paid for?
It's sadly the liberals. And some guy responded to me.
The Bidens are bought and paid for by Ukraine and China.
Right.
They're the ones that are corrupt. They're the grifters, not Trump. Trump's about to become another, what is it, $3.5 billion when this
Truth Social went
Truth Social goes public.
Thank you, Jesus.
Next week.
Well, but Monday's when he owes the money.
$3.5 billion, and it's like, wow, look at that. He's actually making money honestly.
Well, and he needs it for Monday, but and so somebody responded to my little rant that the only thing she cares about is inflating numbers for the next California census count.
Yeah,
which is so true.
That's really what's going on. That's what's going on with the immigration stuff.
Yeah,
they sit there and they talk about they blame Republicans for something called replacement theory. It's a Democrat theory. It's not Republicans. It's a Democrat thing. And it's like, let's flood the country with immigrants. Let's put the immigrants where the population is dwindling, like California and New York and Michigan and places like that are Democrat strongholds. Excuse me.
Well, the other thing that was disgusting, and I'm trying to find the exact line that the guy used on Twitter. It was an NBC reporter, and Barron Trump turned 18 this week. And so he pretty much said, like, now it's, free for all on Barron because he's 18. And actually, I was happy that Chelsea Clinton came out and said, no, it's not. He's not in the public eye. He hasn't run for anything. He's not trying to be your president. And how disgusting that this NBC report, he quickly took down the tweet.
It was
creepy. But he was putting a bullseye on Barron Trump, who just turned 18. So what is wrong with people?
And what was with all the stuff about him being gay and stuff? I'm like,
I didn't see that.
Talk about projection. I mean, it was
like
really? This guy was a stalker. I mean, this guy.
Okay, well, he wrote that he was fair game, stalker. But no, I didn't.
Exactly I didn't. What he meant.
Okay, well, I didn't see the gay stuff. Yeah. He just said Barron Trump turns 18 today, and he's fair game now.
Yeah. So they could call him gay and this kind of stuff, and I mean, that's what they're trying to do. That they're making him a target, and it just shows you how disgusting these people are.
Well,
how low down, disgusting they are.
Well, and then
they're sick perverts.
The other funny story too. I don't know if you saw it, but Planet Fitness, which I have a membership that I started last year and I haven't even gone once. And my husband's like, "Are you going to cancel that?" And I go, "No, because I'm really going to go to the gym, and it's been more than a year."
But
and
you can't cancel it.
And I haven't gone to the gym because it's $10.
They never let you cancel.
I know you can only cancel if you show up, which I swear to you, I haven't even showed up once. So yes, that is entitlement, that I'm okay to spend $10 a month to a gym I never go to. But anyways, the Planet Fitness allowed he looked like a man into the ladies' room and was changing and had his high heels on, but clearly looked like a man, John. And
he was shaving at the sink. Come on.
So they have taken a hit. I mean.
Well, the joke I heard about that, speaking of canceling memberships, that apparently, I guess I'm not a Planet Fitness fan or member.
Well, they have my $10, but they need it because the stock plummeted $400 million.
Well, apparently it's very difficult to cancel a Planet Fitness membership.
You have to go in there. You can't do it over the phone.
and so the comment I saw was, "Hey, at least there's a good way to terminate your Planet Fitness membership is complaining about men in the women's locker room."
Well, when I lived here before, I had a Planet Fitness and I never went either. And I remember when I finally went in to cancel it, so I guess I'm charity for Planet Fitness. I don't know. I asked how many people it was when Planet Fitness was at the Panama City Mall. They had 7,000 people signed up, and there was not 7,000 people. So it's a good business model because we're all like, we're going to get fit. I'll go tomorrow. But I don't need a man.
You haven't been to the new one by Kohl's, huh?
Well, I signed up and I never went back. So
okay, well, it's right by the Kohl's area.
I know it, and it was really nice actually. So I need to get my buns in there. Oh my gosh, yeah. So, anyways, they had a valuation dive of $400 million, and they went from $5.3 billion to $4.9 after this picture went viral. Hey, we're the problem, John. We're the problem.
Yep,
go woke or go broke.
That's exactly right. Go woke or go broke.
Yeah, that's probably when you and I get our first tattoos. That'll be the one. It won't be my Hello Kitty. It'll be go woke, go broke.
So you think these people would have learned from Dylan Mulvaney? You think they would have learned from Disney? Well, it says in the story that a 12-year-old girl was in the dressing room and so she was very distraught. And I would be too, because I don't need to see, a man shaving with boobs bolted on. Right, right. It's disgusting.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
And it doesn't go the other way. You don't see women going in the men's room, do you?
No, because the men would probably beat them up.
You like cheering.
Wasn't it in A Few Good Men. I love that movie. Like Jack Nicholson's was great. Tom Cruise is great, and they're gonna Code Red him. I think was it called Code Red? When they beat up. Yeah. So yeah, that's probably especially here in the Panhandle. You be Code Red by the Southern boy with a mullet and his big old truck out in the parking lot. So you know,
we don't play that way.
That's what I do love living here in the Panhandle, because I do. I mean, there is a safety component. I feel comfort now when I see a guy in his pickup and it's 12 feet off the ground, and he's got his mullet, and he's got his shotgun in there, and he's got his trucker hat on. I don't know. I know that if I broke down, which I have, they stop and they try to help you, John. It's terrifically sweet. So.
And there's places in this country you wouldn't want people to stop and help you because they're probably going to rob you, and it's a sad commentary on our country but it's back to, if New York wants to be liberal, fine. All the Republicans or people that don't want to put up with that crap, move to Pennsylvania. I wouldn't say move to New Jersey, but
but back to Mr. Wonderful, all the sound bites I've seen of him. When you think of America, you think of the Big Apple and the Wall Street and the financial district and where you go to make it, and where the legal immigrants came through Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty. Yep. And it's the beacon of Americana, right? And it... I don't know, that Letitia James is bringing us down. And then, of course, I follow her on X, and I don't know why these liberals are on X, and it's so painful to follow these people. Oh, my gosh. Because what did she have on this week? Of course, I will always fight for women and, reproductive rights. And it's baby killing. And it's sort of like I follow Louise, what's it? It was Elaine on Seinfeld. She got a funny name. She's worth a ton of money because her dad was a billionaire. And she's so liberal. And all they care about is, you have $1 billion in your bank account is killing babies. That's all these people care about. Not who are these people coming through the border that might kill you or I, or squat in your house and then put you in a duffel bag, John.
Well, these are people that don't have everyday problems like they don't have to figure out. They don't have to go to work. They don't have to, they have people that do stuff for them, and it's a completely different lifestyle, and they can't relate to everyday people in this country. That's why they call it flyover country. You got these people in New York, people in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Portland. These people are all they're all privileged. They got their white privilege. Okay, let's use their.
Well, I'm privileged because I have a $10 Planet Fitness membership that now I need to cancel because I gave up Target based on
maybe that's purple privilege. I don't.
Well,
know.
Yeah, it's purple, and then they just charge because once a year they charge $50. So my husband was like, because I spend money fiscally responsibly, but I don't pay the bills. And so my husband was like, what's this $50 charge from Planet Fitness? And I was like, oh, that's the once a year. I'm going tomorrow. I promise. So anyways, yeah, well now, damn it, I'm going to have to cancel. I gave up Target, and I had the withdrawal symptoms of giving up Target because I enjoyed the Magnolia line by Joanna Gaines. They always had all the makeup, and it was so nice. But I've had to dig deep because if we don't fight these people, with our bank account, and even if you have a small bank account, they lost all my money. That's where I'd go buy shampoo and makeup and, soda.
They're at the end of the day, they're a business. And when they lose money, then they have to change their business. Okay. Look at Anheuser-Busch there with the Bud Light thing. They fired people. Okay.
Well, and now they've gone to the extreme because they have that comedian Shane, and he's very insensitive because he tells gay jokes and the mentally disabled jokes. So they've gone now too far over. They didn't pick the right guy, but they lost so many of their people, which are the white guy with the beer belly that probably has a blue collar job, because if you ever go to a gas station, they're all walking out with 24 packs of Bud Light.
But you look at all these major companies have all become so woke, and it's not just the DEI, it's the ESG, the environmental social goals.
Just in though, breaking news, exclusive. We're talking about all this. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife giving most of the 640 million donations to, get this, John, just in on my phone. Extreme left groups boosting migrant criminals and trans athletes. What the F over? What? She'll provide, let's see, Scott will provide 67 migrant advocacy organizations a combined whopping 122 mil for legal aid and other assistance, according to this group. What?
Don't forget the last election, Bezos spent $400 million.
Okay, but there's more.
On Democrat get out to vote efforts.
Her other awards include $117 million to 67 prisoner advocacy groups and other organizations helping jailbirds and ex-cons, and $72 million to 43 groups promoting gender identity, sexual orientation, and LGBTQ causes, such as championing the rights of biological boys who identify as transgender girls to compete in female sports. What is wrong with this woman? She also earmarked $18 million to 10 groups pushing clean energy. I'm sorry, this woman's stupid. She's so stupid.
The thing that represents, Veronica, is the type of people in big tech. That's who they are. Okay, across the board. This is who. Set Elon Musk aside. Okay, the rest of them, they're all radical leftists. Google is overrun with radical leftists, and the problem with this is it affects the products they make. Google search is being pervasively transformed into this leftist.
Right, because if you go searching for stuff, it doesn't always pop up. And right. A clear example was the last time Congressman Gates was on, and that was last year. He had just been cleared of the sexual whatever offenses, and so I was doing my last-minute show prep, and when I typed it in, guess what? I had to work to find the story that he had been cleared, John. I had to work. Yep. So it goes on.
And the AI thing is just as bad because, the Google Gemini AI, they pulled it, that's the one that was doing when you type in, give me a picture of the Pope, it came back with a black Pope, or you typed in, give me a, 1940s German soldier, and it came back with black Nazis, which was insane. And then you type in anything about a white person, and it says, I'm sorry, I can't generate an image of a white person because that's racist, and people are like, oh my God, this is shocking. It's like, no, it shouldn't be shocking. That's the people that are writing the programming, the people that are doing the algorithms and the code for this are leftists, and that's the way they think, and that's what they're putting in. And the problem is, Veronica, is you and I end up relying, and at least we're aware of what's going on. Think of the millions of people that are not aware of what's going on.
Well, most people I know are not aware, and they think I'm the radical. And you know what? I'm not the radical. And so it has a little slide here of the 640 million, 72 million to LGBTQ rights, including transgender athletes. No, I'm sorry. These are men that have boobs bolted on, and they can be a transgender. I don't care. I love Caitlyn Jenner, and Caitlyn Jenner is against this. So what is wrong with this woman? Right. And I want to take our show national. We need somebody, a billionaire or millionaire, to fund us to do that. And this is the crap.
To counter these people.
This is the crap that they're funding. This is the crap, and then criminals and illegal migrants, which I'm happy for them to come through legally. And I say this every week to you. My family's legal immigrants that came through, worked hard, to make it in life. So I just and the legal I'm on my soapbox.
The ones that are legal are the ones that are tend to be the most radical about wanting this thing stopped.
Well, normal people.
One of the stories.
Yeah.
Right, but it's becoming where we give the illegals all these quote rights, and one of the stories this week: illegal immigrant can carry guns according to a federal judge.
Oh, I sent you like 12 articles.
Oh my God!
Because if you or I go in to buy, I have a concealed carry, so I can walk out with a gun because I've already been vetted, ladies and gentlemen. I turned in my DD 214 as a veteran, and I've had training, but you never have enough training. We still need to go to the range, because I'm bullseye and I want to remain bullseye.
That's right.
But
muscle memory.
I know, and I've definitely been concealed. Excuse me, concealed carry more lately because it's scary out there.
I know, but where does a federal judge get off giving an illegal immigrant? Okay, and the comment was, well, they haven't otherwise broken the law, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're an illegal alien. They're in this country.
I don't
illegally.
know who you are.
They broke the law. I mean, the law is you shouldn't be here, and yet, that should be automatic saying, right, you are a criminal because you broke the law. You're awaiting a hearing, right? They get assigned a hearing date, and you're awaiting a hearing to see whether you should be deported or not. So to sit there and say, well, you've got a constitutional right, the same as a U.S. citizen, to carry a gun is incredible. How you can make that jump.
And who was the judge? A radical Obama appointee judge.
Right.
So
and it's like we are fighting this war on so many fronts. And
no, it's literally exhausting, John. Every day I wake up and I'm like, what's it going to be? And this week it was that, and no, it's crazy.
It kind of goes to our conversation with Larry Bassford here. It's like I keep wondering, when are the adults going to show up and fix this? Okay,
I don't know.
We've got clowns in Congress, we got clowns in the judiciary, we've got clowns for prosecutors. When is somebody going to walk in and say, enough's enough? That's not the way our Constitution's written.
Well, you and I are saying it every week. We say enough is enough because, someday I'm going to have grandchildren. Thank you. I've raised my children. They have great moral compasses. But raising children is hard these days. And then when you have all of these crazy people pushing these agendas, where's the America First agenda? And, being a conservative and faith and God and family values and having a home that has a mom and a dad. Where is that? Nobody wants to push that anymore.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with America First. You talk about, the Democrats talk about MAGA, like we're some kind of creepy disease or something there. And it's like, what's wrong with Make America Great Again? What's wrong with
what's
putting
wrong
our
with America being great
first?
Every day is my question.
And it's because of something called American exceptionalism, and they don't like it. They don't like that America can be better than the rest of the world and set the example.
Somebody has to be the leader. Why? I always want to be number one in everything I do. I'm not trying to slide in to be the last person. Granted, we know our abilities sometimes. And when I was on the tennis team in high school, I knew I was going to be the last one on the ladder because I knew my abilities. But that didn't stop me from trying to be the number one.
Right.
I was trying.
And there was nothing wrong with that, but it's back to the shining city on the hill, the beacon that Reagan talked about. America has to be first in order to be that shining city.
Yeah.
If we're not first, then we're not the shining city.
And New York. And so what is New York going to be? It's going to be...
It's a hellhole. It's a hellhole.
Right.
But until it gets bad enough to where the people of New York...
But it's going to be too late when... It might be too late. That we can't ever get it back.
Maybe the problem with too late is can you take the steps necessary to fix it?
Well, that's what I'm worried about. And you sent in the afterburners.
That means putting people in jail, and that means deporting people that shouldn't be here. It means following the law. And
on that note,
Letitia James,
you got. Well, you sent the story in the Afterburner about the exit polls after Trump endorsed Bernie Moreno's big win.
Yes.
Because he wasn't slated to win. Trump endorsed him. They tried to take him out. But when people were exiting the voters said that immigration is their top concern, and 73% of Americans said that illegal immigrants who are living in the U.S. should be deported. And I was at my church this week, and so some ladies know I'm political, so they were talking with me, and these are church-going Catholic women, and they were concerned about what's happening at our border, because we don't know who you are, and if you're a criminal let out of a Venezuelan prisoner, what's going to stop you from killing me? So it's weighing on people's minds now that we want to help poor people and do the right thing. But I don't. Could you imagine if we let everybody on death row out, and now they're running around America and we don't know who you are, and killers are going to kill again.
Right, and exactly right. And if there's no punishment, if there's no consequences for behavior, how do you change behavior if there's no consequences? If you walk into a store and steal, the toothpaste out of the thing there, and then walk out the door and don't pay for it, and then you come back again, and you didn't get arrested because the police don't care, the prosecutors don't care, and you come back and the store's like, well, there's two consequences. There's no toothpaste because everybody's stolen it all. Or the store locks the toothpaste up behind it.
And I lived that in New York visiting my children in a nice, it was the Upper East Side, nice area. Yep. Everything was nice. And every single damn piece of candy was locked. And it was freaking annoying because now you have to wait. And, stores are undermanned. So now you can't just be a drive-by and go in and go out and buy it.
Right.
No.
And they've got stores that are limiting how many people they'll let in the store because of the number of clerks they have. And they can't watch everybody, so they'll only let 2 or 3 people in the store at a time to serve them. And it gets back to this inefficiency, economic inefficiency, which is something it's a real burr under my rear end. We misallocate resources. That's the thing that the frightening part.
Well, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife is misallocating her resources, and we'd like her to allocate them to Veronica Live so we can go national with the staff.
I don't really care. I'd like her to allocate something to us, but it's her money. It's private money. What the bad part is when the government is doing it, and Biden's budget $7.3 trillion. I'm like, oh, how can you even imagine that?
Well, did you see what some of the things that it was going towards?
Yeah, I was, and I was frightened. It was
so let me, because Jesse Waters listed it on his Twitter, and it is literally freaking scandalous. It is I don't know. It's just rough. So it was $850K for a gay senior home. Why is that coming out of the government? Why isn't that privately funded?
Yep.
$15 million to pay for Egyptians' college tuitions. What the hell is that? What the hell is that, John? Who are these people? And that's like paying for them, I guess, in Egypt. Okay, why? $400K for a gay activist group to teach elementary kids about being trans. Okay, I have a problem with that. $500K for a DEI zoo. I don't even know what the hell that is. $400K for a group to give clothes to teens to help them hide their gender. I mean, this is sick.
It is.
And he had 2.2 million views on that. I don't understand it anymore. And so I wrote, this pork needs to be burned. I don't support any of this garbage. Secure the border and vote in term limits for these twits. I didn't really get much traction on that because I was late to the game.
At a $7.3 trillion, they're increasing the defense budget 1%. Okay, 1%, which is in real terms with the inflation, that's actually a cut. Okay, and it's so we're spending more on all this social crap. And then we have the EV mandate, the electric vehicle mandate this week.
Right.
When did Congress pass a law that says the car makers can only sell EVs? Somehow the EPA is saying.
And when I saw that story, where are we going to plug them all in? Where are we going to plug them all in, John? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You can't go, I think, but 350 miles in an EV.
As long as it's not cold. When it gets cold, then you can't go even hardly any of that. I laugh at these trucks. The Ford Lightning. If you tow something with the Ford Lightning, like a boat, for instance, right?
Which that's what I'd be doing.
Right, 75-mile range if you tow a boat with it.
Oh my God!
You believe that? 75 miles, and then you got to stop and charge something, and it's like you people don't understand these machines, how they work, and what energy and power is.
Well, there was a cute meme. Everybody knows Bart Simpson, and like when that show was on, he used to write. He'd always in trouble.
Oh yeah,
and he'd write on the board. And so the meme is he's writing, "Government is the enemy," and I think Bart Simpson has it right.
He's right on this one.
Well, and then did you see the story too? This was also literally scandalous. It was a general officer talking about all the drones coming over the border because the cartels are using them to traffic the people to see where our good guys are on the border. And I think it was like 1,000 drones a day, or it was some outrageous number. And like, oh my God, what is secure, John? What is secure?
Nothing. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's like, now if it's Ukraine, they care in Ukraine, if it's, it's like, well, let's build a fence. It's like, no, we can't build fences, but yet we'll give hundreds of millions of dollars to Egypt to build a fence.
Okay, 15 million to Egypt so that they can go to college. Why am I paying for that?
That's just one piece. But we're also paying for a fence for Egypt to build a fence to keep the people from Gaza going into Egypt.
Yeah,
that's okay to build a fence for that, but we can't build a fence to keep these people out, from our country.
I mean, and this is just 1 week of storylines. Okay, so it's more than 1,000 drones per month are crossing into U.S. airspace near the border, said this top general. I'm scandalized. I can't even get the words out. I'm so scandalized by this.
Why? I mean, it makes sense, if you want to put a drone up and go see where the Border Patrol's at or not at, I mean, nobody cares, Veronica. Nobody cares.
Well, why are you and I the only ones that care?
Well, until we get off our butt and vote these people out, vote in people like Cameron Hamilton, that Navy SEAL kick-ass, take names, kick-ass, take names, type people in there that are going to say, we're done with this, and the problem is we got to get enough votes in there. We've got to get rid of these rhino Republicans. I think I heard something. I think it was Dan Bongino saying there are Republicans that are really Democrats, but there are no Democrats that are Republicans, and he's absolutely right about that. We've got Republicans that seem to have no problem. The rhinos have no problem aiding and abetting the Democrats in destroying this country, and we've got to vote these people out. The alternative is not good. And it's going to descend into chaos. The Democrats want the chaos. Obama gave the game away, okay? He said our founding fathers got the Constitution wrong because it says what the government can't do, not what it should do. And that's a completely different context of how government should be involved in your life. And that's why we are in a post-constitutional government, $7.3 trillion, okay? That's 1/3 of the U.S. economy. 1/3 is the federal government, just the federal government budget, which includes $2 trillion or almost $3 trillion in money they're going to print that we don't have to increase the national debt. That's the game.
And they're pushing around a dementia president, So another story, I don't know if you saw this one. This one kind of broke too yesterday. Two stories. The least important one, Candace Owen, from Daily Wire. Yeah. She didn't support Israel. She doesn't think we should be giving them money, and now she's leaving the Daily Wire. And she's an African American that has always been out there. People just adore her. I mean, there was so much support for her on her X platform. I was looking at that last night, but she doesn't believe in Israel, and which I'm just shocked. And Ben Shapiro, I guess, runs Daily Wire, who's also has his own show and is very famous. He had nothing for her. But how can you not support Israel? And that was what was shocking to me, was looking through her X. Like, oh, we stand with you, Candace. We stand with you. Well, what about standing with Israel? They're out there, by themselves, surrounded by all these people that don't want them there.
Well, everybody's got their own beliefs, and some people you can line up with 75% of the stuff, and then the other 25% you got to decide what you want to do with it. I agree with Candace Owens on a lot of stuff. I don't agree with her on the Israel position.
Yeah. And I'm okay if people have, they can believe one way or the other and still be a conservative. But, is she being fired for this one statement? And it's sort of what they're saying, So I don't know. Because
it's a private business and they can choose who associates with them or not. And if you want to take, I think we had a story a couple of weeks ago. I don't know that we covered it, but it was about Neil Young. I don't know if you remember him. He was all upset. He had his music on Spotify.
Yeah.
And he was all upset at Joe Rogan, so he pulled his music off Spotify and said until Spotify canned Joe Rogan, he wouldn't allow
who Joe Rogan makes $100 million a year with his talk show. Right. He's the number one talk show host in the right. world.
So here liberal Neil Young thinks he's gonna blackmail, coerce, whatever, Spotify into dumping Joe Rogan so that people could listen to Neil Young's music on Spotify. He lost that. And now all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, he's decided to put his music back on Spotify.
Aww, even though Joe Rogan, I don't even like his music.
I don't either, but Rogan has an even bigger audience now. So the whole crap load of stuff that he was going through, about standing up for his principles is just a bunch of garbage, because at the end of the day, he wants the money. Rule number one, you want to know the truth in anything about politics, follow the money. And that's what it always comes down to with these people, is follow the money.
Well, so anyways, I thought that was very interesting, but actually the number one story ended up breaking yesterday afternoon, and I was running around Destin, and oh, by the way, my internet on my phone wouldn't work out over in that world, and I was so ticked, so I had to 911 my friend, because I saw the news story that broke yesterday, and the whole world was talking about it, that Princess Kate revealed that she is battling cancer at the age of 42, and she's undergoing preventative chemotherapy, she said. And so, it just all of that came flooding back to me, because she said, I guess everybody went after her. Remember last week we were joking about it. Where's Kate Middleton? And I said, well, hopefully it's nothing major, because she had the stomach surgery, and after the stomach surgery, when they assessed what they took out, there was cancer there. And so now she's doing chemo, and she released this video yesterday. It's like 2 minutes long. She's sitting by herself. You hear birds chirping, flowers around her. Her kids have just started Easter break, and her kids are little. They're little munchkins. And she talked about, having to tell her children, and they needed some privacy. And it all came flooding back because, when I was diagnosed with cancer, my daughter was a senior in high school 6 years ago, and I didn't want to tell her. It was homecoming week, her birthday, and I had to go off to the Mayo, and I was trying to just sneak off, and my one friend here was like, you have to tell her, you can't leave, and because that's going to be so weird. And oh my gosh, I thought it hurt so bad yesterday, just knowing that when you have to tell your children, it doesn't matter what age they are, because my daughter was like, oh my gosh, are you going to die? She was crying, and then I had to tell my son, and and you're just you're a deer in headlights in the beginning, and she started chemo already, it says, and you could tell yesterday she was wearing a wig, because I've worn, 12 of them, because I had my Sophia Loren wig, my Pulp Fiction wig, my Jennifer Aniston wig. I had them all. But my heart hurt so bad yesterday. And, and it was so funny, because Prince Charles also is going through prostate cancer treatment. And what a void, John. All of a sudden, we've lost Queen Elizabeth, and then two of your number one royals, Charles and Kate, are having to deal with this right now. And what it really told me too is it doesn't matter if the whole world knows who you are, and you're as rich as can be. Cancer can impact anyone at any time and hurt your family. It hurts your heart. So,
well, the
pain.
The speculation was getting stupid, and I guess if I had, but and I haven't had any cancer, thank goodness. But one thing I found interesting was her comment that it took her some time for it, I guess, to register, to deal with it, whatever.
You're in shock,
and you
you're
can probably
literally in shock.
Speak to that much better, What when they say you've got cancer, I mean, you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God, and all these thoughts.
Well, my story's so funny is because I had a perfect mammogram. 3 weeks later, I found a lump. I get in real quick. The next day, I got the biopsy. That Friday, I got it all happened like Monday, Tuesday. Friday, I get the call, Mrs. Kemeny, we need you to come to the office. So I kind of knew, and of course, my husband was out of town. So I brought my friend with me, and we're in seeing my nurse practitioner that I'd seen for 5, plus years living here, whatever it was. And she's like, you have breast cancer. And you're kind of like, huh? And then my friend, who, everybody's in shock. She's like, is she going to die? So now I laugh at this, but at the time, in that entire day,
you weren't laughing.
I couldn't breathe. I don't. The comment happened, and that was the thing too. The stupid things people say along the way. Oh, my aunt died of breast cancer. I'm like, I don't. And you're in treatment. You're like, I don't need to hear this, Shiza.
Yep.
But you're so in shock initially. You and then your husband, and then you have to tell your children, and mine were older, and they, it stops everybody in their tracks, because, and then you're trying to figure out treatments, and, my hair is going to fall out, and, just all of it. So my heart ached yesterday, because we all love, everybody wants to be a queen and a princess, and it was funny, too, because Prince Harry and Meghan Markle didn't know anything about it, because apparently the trust had been broken. And so they heard about it in the press, but they're not welcome back. And so that also hurt my heart, because, Princess Diana, as a fanatic of following royalty my entire life, that her 2 sons aren't together. And now England, like they're Kim Kardashians. 1 and 2 are, have cancer, John. It's so sad. It's so hopefully, and I don't know. They've had all these doctors on CNN and Fox News and on all these radio shows, and because we really don't know what kind of cancer it is. Is it colon cancer? Is it ovarian cancer? Stomach cancer?
Well, same thing for the surgery. All they'll say is abdominal surgery. They won't say what it was, And not that it's not important to me, It doesn't. The fact that she's got to deal with this is, it's something you have to deal with on your own. I mean,
and you need time. It doesn't matter if you're in the public eye. You need some time to take it in internally, because I've told this to people over and over and over again. You can cut me open, do surgery, give me stitches, because I had 2 lumpectomies. My gallbladder went out. I had a port put in. I've never had surgeries before. All of a sudden, you're seeing a doctor nonstop. And then you're going through, I did chemo for 12 weeks and my hair fell out, and then more immunotherapies and the radiation. But the bottom line was, you could do all that to me, and I was still kicking. And but it's a mental game, and you have to deal with it first internally. And cancer's a mental game more than it is the whole cut me open crap.
Right. You gotta have the will to live, and that comes from inside. That's not outside.
And especially when children are involved, you really, I wish her the best, and we're all praying for her, but I do hope that everybody just takes it, that it was the one time I stopped working, because I knew that I had to fight for me so that I could be there for the people that I love, to eventually continue being a mother and a grandmother and a wife and all of that. So she's taking her tactical pause, and I hope the press will allow that to happen.
Wouldn't that be so nice, just to lay off and not have to make the story, not make it about anything. Just leave her alone for a while. But
well, what else is in the stack that you want to talk about? You always, we always got to talk about the cartoons you send me.
Well, I wanted to talk about the funny story of the week, and that was
which one did you love the most?
the funny story was a Harvard probe that finds the honesty researcher engaged in scientific misconduct. That one was so funny.
Harvard is an absolute wreck. They actually need me to come in and be the president. I think they need a strong military officer to kick some ass.
But it was so funny. The story was about this researcher who does research on why people are honest or not honest, and apparently she was fabricating research evidence.
I mean, we can't even make this stuff up, John. You're at Harvard.
Right, and to top it off, Harvard won't fire her.
Oh my gosh! Well, they didn't fire Dr. Gay, so
I know. So it's like, what does it take to get fired?
Which I meant to. I'll Google it while you're talking about this story. I wanted to see who she is. So her name is Francesca Gino. So let's see what Francesca Gino looks like. Why they won't fire her? Because she might have green hair. Let's see who she is. Oh, here we go. Francesca Gino. Oh, she did go to Harvard. No, she's a white woman, actually.
Okay.
Okay. Wow, she's 46. Yeah, quick facts about her. She's an award-winning expert on the psychology of organizations, and she studies how people can have more productive, creative, and fulfilling lives. And I guess I forgot, and how to BS your way through some investigation or report.
But anyway, so they've retracted one of her 4 papers that had this fraudulent data in it, and I guess there's some debate about them retracting the other 3. So but putting her on unpaid leave while taking steps to terminate her is.
Well, here's her bio. Get this. She's an award-winning researcher and it says here that she's been honored as one of the world's top 40 business professors under 40, John, and one of the world's 50 most influential management thinkers by Thinkers 50, and she's won numerous awards for her teaching. So here we go. It's all BS. And she's been on all these programs.
Well, she claims it was an honest error, and it's like...
Oh, it's all honest.
And this committee, and what amazed me was how long, 1,300-page investigative report, 1,300 pages of report for this investigation. It took them years to do this, three or 4 years to do this.
I mean, don't you want honest professors so you don't have to waste money on that?
Right, and their conclusion was that Gino edited observations in ways that made the results fit the hypothesis, which is fraud. She made up the results to fit her ideas, and it's like,
gosh, what is wrong with these people? Why can't they get and this is a white woman, so you can't even really go down the, that we're racist and, so this is a white, it's her picture. She's clearly white.
Right.
So.
But why is Harvard even delaying firing her? I mean, she should have been fired immediately and completely discredited in the education community. But, somebody will herald her as some kind of hero, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. Well,
anyway, that was a funny story of the week. So, stupid stories, but on to cartoons.
Yes. Well, we've got this one. Oh, well, I love this one because this has definitely happened because last week we know that the RNC put Laura Trump in and she's cleaning house and it's a picture of Trump in a doorway and over the doorway it has RNC. And then Trump is kicking a rhino in the ass that's flying through the air with his Never Trump sign. Fly, baby, fly. So don't you feel that the RNC, we're going to get it back in order? I honestly feel that we're not going to be taking high-end trips and paying for flowers and hair and nails.
Absolutely. I read the transcript of Laura Trump's speech that she gave this week. It was dead on, We need to deal with the hand we're dealt on voting, okay? Early voting means we have to live with early voting. Mail-in voting with fraud, despite the fact there's fraud, that's the hand we're dealt. We have to deal with it. And we need to be better at doing it than the Democrats are.
Talk about what happened to you in the mail-in voting, since you are still dual house and a resident of Florida.
Well, I was up here at Northcom and at the farm here, and so we called Mark Anderson and had our mail-in ballots mailed to Georgia, and they arrived on Thursday, 2 days after the primary election. Thank goodness it was only a primary election. First election we haven't voted on in at least 20 years, okay, which really made me mad.
How dare you, John?
I was like,
because
really,
you and I
really
dream about elections.
But it turns out, Mark got it mailed on time, but the post office, Atlanta, apparently opened up a new super center post office processing place that consolidated 3 other processing centers into one big one. 500 of the postal employees decided they weren't moving to the new place, so they're calling in sick. So this new super processing center, like 1 million square feet of mail processing, is short 400 to 500 people a day. I talked to the postmaster here.
But how convenient! It's during an election time.
Well, I didn't get any mail for 5 days.
But this scares me in that, John, think if they try this stunt in November and George Soros starts giving people money.
Well, what I found out some more about that, Veronica, is this is not an uncommon problem. The post office is opening these new super processing centers all over the country, and these kind of delays are not unusual. 2 weeks for a first-class letter to go from Panama City to Atlanta. 2 weeks.
Oh, come on.
That is insane. There's something really broke here, and people need to understand this. We've got a mail ballot election. What's going to happen? I already see it coming. They're going to start suing they're going to say the post office can't deliver these ballots in time for the election. So we have to extend the deadline.
George Soros goes around and starts giving people $500 to stay home, and you get this 2-week backlog.
But I guarantee you're going to start seeing the Democrat Party start suing in court to extend these deadlines for mail-in ballots because of the post office's process.
Well, I see it the other way. Let's send them out earlier, because I know, like when I lived overseas and would get the ballot, I would often get postcards, the campaign postcards, a month later, because they were sent via media mail. And that took a long time, and they would send them out too late. So I've advised and worked with a lot of candidates, and I'm like, you want to go after that military vote, but you need to back it up way in advance to get your postcard.
Well, the problem is, Veronica, it's not mailing it to me and getting it. It's mailing it back. And apparently, from what the postmaster is saying, people are upset because they're mailing in their bills, their electric bill, their water bill, and it's being the bills are being delayed getting to the vendors by 2 to 3 weeks. So these people are getting hit with late penalties, and they're cutting off their electricity and stuff because the post office is so screwed up.
Well, and one other comment. So I just pulled up bayvotes.org because we had the primary Tuesday. We have 69,600 plus registered voters, and they only got 13,000 of us that came out to vote, and that's a 18.77, almost 19% voted. I mean, that's just freaking pathetic.
Yep.
And then when you do the breakdown, they had 88% voted for here in Bay County for Trump. Then 7% voted for lovely Nikki Haley, barf. And then Ron DeSantis got almost 4% of the vote. And then there was other people, I don't even know, who Ryan Brinkley, I don't even know who that was. There's a bunch of extra people, which that was frustrating to me too, is why can't we get this? A lot of these people had dropped out a long time ago. Chris Christie was on there. Didn't he drop out in like December? Or November, and he was still on the damn ballot? Give me a break.
Well, that's because the rules in Florida, they paid I think it's $25,000 to the Republican Party of Florida. That's how you get ballot access. You have to pay $25,000 and show up at the Sunshine Summit.
54 people dumbasses in Bay County voted for Chris Christie.
Of
I'm
course.
like, really? And Asa Hutchinson, 7? Ramaswamy got 36, so Chris Christie beat him.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it just goes to show you the voters aren't always that smart.
Yeah.
Thank God you don't have to take an intelligence test.
Well, and one more story, and I think I sent it to you because I can't believe we cannot. The Ziegler story, our former chairman and his wife, who is still a
school board member in Sarasota County.
It's the story that keeps on giving that we cannot get over. So this week it's everywhere. Christian and Bridget Ziegler fight to prevent records from being released about their sexcapades. And so once again, we have to read about, like, one of the stories was very graphic on what went down. And
I agree with them on this story. And the part of the story that the sexcapade part, I don't care about. That's already public and all that stuff. The part that that's barely mentioned is the fact that they seized Christian's cell phone. And they not only went through the sexcapade stuff, they went through everything. So there's a lot of stuff in there that has no business being made public. It has nothing to do with the case. It's his information. It's his private information. And other than voyeurism,
Oh, and it had some of the text to his wife, about the woman. So this was an ongoing thing with these sick individuals,
right?
And the only reason I don't want to, there was a lot in the one. I only read the one story that I sent you because somebody sent it to me. Again, they have 3 young daughters, and if this gets out there, because the one story was very graphic,
right?
I mean, this is forever. Those 3 children are going to be exposed to this. The world. I don't want to know anymore. We know what they did.
Right, but the fact is, there's no criminal charges. So what right does the public have to know if there's no criminal charges?
Well, the story I sent you, definitely the woman was like having mental issues, was not stable, was drinking, but they'd all had sex before together. So, she was a player, but she definitely was not stable, because that was one of the things he texted, or the wife texted about her.
Well, one of them said, "Well, I think we need to find a new partner or something."
Yeah,
I thought this is really weird. but the fact
is, things I don't want to know, but it's the story that won't go away because it broke.
Right.
It broke at I was at my, going to my husband's Christmas party, November 30th, and I keep have this story. It's gone global. All the stories are global again, and then of course you read the comments and they're like, "Oh, those Republicans," because that's the thing. We're tied in now with the Zieglers who couldn't keep their sex life private, and everybody thinks now that we're two-faced because these people didn't represent us and were pretending to represent us.
Right, but I'll go back. They still have rights. They're still citizens. There's no criminal charges against them.
Yeah, and why aren't there at this point? You know what I'm saying? After talking to our state attorney.
Why are there none? Because there's no criminal activity.
Well, that's what I'm...
Everything that woman said, she was put up to making the charges by, I think it was her sister or a friend of hers that got wind of it.
Her sister. It was a sister.
Who's a liberal. Okay, so she basically outed her, and I'm trying to remember.
Well,
Anita
she might
Hill.
have been
Remember
paid.
Anita Hill?
Oh, right, yeah, because this week that the other woman that took on Kavanaugh has a book, and she's apparently had a facelift and looks like $1 million, and she's
Christina
trying.
Ballsy Ford, yeah. But the fact is, the evidence that Christian gave them, the video that he took, showed it was 100% consensual on her part.
It should have been done at that point, I think.
Right. It's like there's no rape charge here, okay? It's
Thank God he had the video. Oh, my gosh.
Exactly. Because otherwise it's a he said, she said kind of thing. So it's like, okay, so the video exonerated him. It's not criminal. Now it's private. So the government has seized his stuff. So what right does a newspaper or anybody else have to go into Christian Ziegler's cell phone and look at his text messages? Look at if he does online banking. They want everything on that cell phone that the police downloaded. Everything. not related to the story.
Well, and the story I sent you, he was Googling charges being dropped and blah blah blah. So everything was on there. But yes, but it's the story that won't go away. Right. And I'm with you. Now we have a sex video that confirms it was consensual because nobody was screaming and she was obviously participating. Yep. So let's be done with it. And going back to the Justice Brett Kavanaugh, the accuser returns with a memoir, Christine Blasey Ford. She re-enters the spotlight, and she writes, most memoirs are the story behind a life. This is the life behind a story. So begins One Way Back by Christine Blasey Ford. Well, where's her doctor? Remember, wasn't she a doctor? Because it was BS. It was BS. And this week I listened to, I love him, Guy Benson, from Fox News. And then he had Molly, what's her name? She's a bigwig on one of those websites. Hemingway. It starts with an H. And so she actually wrote a book
I think she writes for the Federalist.
Yes. Oh, she's awesome. Yeah. I love her. So Molly had written a book supporting Kavanaugh a long time ago with a co-author, and she was talking about, she wrote the book because it was so horrific what Kavanaugh had been through. The woman couldn't remember the date, the time, the place. Her family came out and said that it wasn't true. Yeah. Then they tried to corner this woman to support it, and they were going to bribe her with, she used drugs when she was young, and she, finally came out and said it wasn't true. So how does this woman, come out now with this book, and now she looks all great, like she even had a freaking facelift, John?
I'm sure that was all part of the marketing for the book, I mean, it's just back to follow the money. It's about the money, okay? And she gets on The View, and apparently, I guess there were some men in the audience that didn't applaud her, and I guess some of the View idiots were criticizing the men in the audience for not applauding.
Well, because it's BS. It's right. Like they talked to all of his friends, and then the Georgetown prep school that he went to. I graduated from Mount Vernon High School there, and I went on one of the. I got invited to a prom kind of thing at the prep school, and they were all nice Catholic boys. It was like a clean cut affair. They were all kind of rich kids, I will say, because their parents had to pay big tuition. And this was the era of when I went to this dance, and it was nice. I remember it was a nice Christian. The group were nice. Yeah, they were prep school boys, but they were all nice. Because it was a Catholic school. So
and they had something called discipline, and if they got in trouble,
oh my gosh, the tie, the jacket, all of that. And so here she comes now. They're dragging her out. Oh my gosh, she looks like $1 million in this picture. Her hair's all blonde and curled, and she has makeup, and because as you remember, she hated flying supposedly. So it's just it's the left, and it's the Anita Hill thing. Anita Hill tried to lodge charges against Clarence Thomas during his hearing. But how many times has this happened to men? Poor men. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I am not a fan. I loved Christian before all this happened. He came on the show. I've been friendly with him for 10 years. Yeah. And I pray for his family, but he obviously doesn't live my lifestyle. And when people don't do the way I live life, I don't want you in my circle. But thank God he videotaped that. You know what I'm saying? Well, his sexcapade.
It's sad that you have to think that way, So, and again, I don't know what his expectations were.
With an NDA.
But do you have to go to the extreme of Mike Pence, where you don't go anywhere without your wife? You're never in a room alone with a woman without your wife?
His wife, and I just had a discussion with somebody last week, and I think I know why his wife was that way. She was actually married to somebody else. Did you know this?
No.
She married a guy that was in medical school, and they were married for 1 or 2 years. And then they got a divorce. And so I thought she was this, perfect individual, and there was no reason to divorce that guy, and he ended up being a doctor. So I'm wondering if that all played into it. So isn't that funny? I'm who's always immersed in people and what's your life and children, and oh my gosh, because everybody hated Trump because he'd been married 3 times and everything. Well, she's not perfect either, and Joe Biden was married to somebody else too, and then locked on to the lovely lawyer.
Yep.
So.
Well, you see the thing, Judge, look at Alabama, good example there. Ed Katie Britt, was a couple of weeks ago doing the Republican response to State of Union.
Yeah.
Now, prior to her, Judge Roy Moore, you may remember him running for Senate in Alabama. And what was the thing, with him? It was like all these women came out and were accusing him of all kinds of sexual escapades and that kind of stuff. And as soon as he lost the election, it all goes away. I mean, it's a standard Democrat pattern.
Well, I'm tired of these lies, and I know when I ran for my little campaign, like 2 days before, there was 2 little things on Facebook that looked like a 13-year-old made up. And that's when I thought I'd won it, because I was like, oh my gosh, what is this garbage? And it was so bad, but because they're hoping the headline sticks, the picture sticks, the fake accusation sticks. I mean, that's the whole thing I feel too with Trump. It's about the headline. Letitia just wants to seize Trump Tower on Monday, and rip off the Trump sign and throw 1,000 illegals into the building. Yep. Can you even imagine? Because every time I go to New York, every single time. Last time my husband was like, hey, it's Trump Tower. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I stop and I take a picture because it's so beautiful. But, you're coming and going. That's how you
name it.
Letitia Tower. LJ Tower.
She probably like that.
It starts with a B.
Bitch Tower.
Okay, you said it. I didn't.
I think didn't Trump say that this week there? That I'm not
maybe
let that
he
bitch
did actually
take my tower or something.
Well, and why does she get to decide what assets? Like, I'd be giving away some golf courses first, So please, I'm praying that I saw there was a GoFundMe, and there's supposed to be a fundraiser April 8th. And the one fundraiser I saw going around, it had a couple million to it, but to get to 500 million, oh my gosh. I hope that True Social money can be, liquid for him.
Well, I guess we'll find out Monday or Tuesday, but supposedly he has to have the money by Monday. And the one theory I heard was that he is actually going to file in federal court under the 8th Amendment that this is an illegal seizure of his property, and that the fine is
it's
unconstitutional
ridiculous
because the fine.
Nobody's ever had a fine like that, and he's not a flight risk. He's got assets.
Well, not only is the fine is arbitrary and capricious, because the 8th Amendment says you basically can't fine somebody a ridiculous amount of money. Okay, so the thinking is Trump's trying to get this into federal court and get it out of the state court system. So they may make an 8th Amendment filing to put a suspension on the seizure and get a federal judge to.
I hope it happens on Monday.
Sign off on it. So we'll see. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know all the legal tactics.
Because she wants Trump Tower and she wants Mar-a-Lago. So she wants to fill Trump Tower with the illegals, and then she wants to be sipping her little Mai Tai at Mar-a-Lago. No.
What the hell happened to due process under the law in this country? I mean,
the whole thing is disgusting. What she's done to the sons with their $4 million each that they have to pay. Nobody can be a businessman in New York. Who'd want to be in New York? Who?
Well, it was so bad that the Trump lawyers went to the judge and said, because they suspended Trump from doing business in New York for some number of years. And they went back to the judge and says, we can't even talk to bankers about getting the bond money because they're not allowed to deal with Trump under your order. So he had to go and modify his order to allow Trump to negotiate with New York bankers.
And John,
in order to raise the money for the bond, And I'm like, this is insane.
Well, and it comes down to Americans aren't even awake and don't know all the details like you and I do.
Right.
So hopefully they're tuning into Veronica Live. We still need a $1 million sponsor to help grow us nationally. We've had the biggest show today, like every time we have a show. State Attorney Larry Bassford was wonderful. Virginia congressional candidate Cameron Hamilton from the District 7 up there was fantastic. And, you and I talking politics, loved every moment of it. And next week, no show because it's Easter weekend, and I will have some company here. But, we'll maybe pick another day, you and I. We always have stuff to talk about, John. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, X. The podcast will blow out on Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Podcast Addict, YouTube. I put stuff on LinkedIn all the time. So anyways, we're everywhere, and what a great show. And I've got guests lined up like cordwood, so let me tease some of them. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited about some of these guests. Our next big show, we're going to have Representative Dr. Rudman. He's over from the Gates District, and he reached out to me and he wants to come on, so that's going to be great. I've got Zach Sanchez. You see him all over our town. He owns the Think Real Estate. He's a broker, and it's a boutique real estate that's on fire here. And I wanted to talk to him because all those changes that have come down with the real estate laws, and plus talk about, he's like 30 and he's a successful businessman. He's just bought the C&G Good sporting store. Everything he touches turns to gold. So we'll talk to him. And then I booked also the new CEO of the chamber. He's going to come on too. So plenty. And then, I'm always working guests that I'm trying to get on. And so I'm excited about all these guests already.
Well, we got a really good show. And, I was really impressed with Cameron Hamilton. I mean, that guy's the real deal.
Him.
He is the real deal,
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
We need more people like him to save this country.
Yeah. Well, God bless John. The sun has come out now in Florida. So I hope you have a great day, and God bless our audience, and happy Easter if we don't do a show before then. God bless everyone.
Happy Easter, everybody. Bye.